So you want to be a master influencer? Raise the hands. All right, I can't see you, but I suspect that everybody watching this wants to be a master influencer in their business, their communities, your churches, and in your home. Doesn't matter if you're a man or woman. But before you become a master influencer, you got to lay the groundwork. So what I'd like to do is to spend a little bit of time here preparing you how you can lay the foundation to become a master influencer. 2, to develop a life and business strategy to clearly define your purpose and goal, so that way you can be more specific in following these daily habits and disciplines that I'm going to talk to you about to become a master influencer. And then finally, I'm going to talk to you about the steps necessary to really position you as an authority in what you do best in bringing value to others. So step number 1, we need to clear the slate here. You have to really ask yourself, become aware of it, what is holding me back? I want to become a master influencer, but for some reason, I don't feel confident enough that I have the expertise to really make a difference in the world with my message. What is holding me back? So get very clear on that if that's happening to you. Become aware of where you are. So what you want to do is become aware that you're not where you want to be. That would be step 1. Write that down. Step 2 would be accepting where you are at this given moment and making the commitment to find the root cause to the source to your limited beliefs that hold you back from becoming a master influencer. Step 2, write that down. Awareness, 1. 2, acceptance. Number 3, during the process, you're going to incorporate some disciplines that are going to allow you to find the root cause to those limited belief patterns. This is going to come in a 2-step system, meditation and journaling. You're going to incorporate daily meditation and journaling into your each and every day for the rest of your life, starting very early in the morning, hopefully before the sun rises. 20 minutes a day of meditation, being in the moment, practicing the art of mindfulness, to just be in your body, to begin to kind of develop some clarity of what is holding you back. And when you have the ability to do that, you're going to, after you meditate, you're going to write this down in a journal. And when you write it down in a journal, you don't want to analyze it. You don't want to overthink it. Just write it down. Whatever comes to your mind following meditation and how you feel. You want to express how you feel. Are you feeling happy, joyful, angry, jealous, shameful, guilty, whatever the case may be, whether if it's positive or negative, write it down. Because in time, as you practice the art of mindfulness, being in the moment through the meditation and journaling, you're going to be able to see your thoughts and the things that you put on paper from a third-party perspective. You're going to begin to see the subconscious mindset talk to your conscious mindset to start revealing where the source is to your root cause. More than often, it's a parent. It could be your mother, it could be your father, or it could be some type of authoritative figure. And it's usually tied to a negative emotion. Now, while this talk today is not about, finding the root cause, I only bring this up because it sets the foundation, like I said. If you want to find out more information about this, you can go to my website, ChristopherSalem.com, to find out more information. But once you're able to find the root cause through the process of accepting, we talked about awareness, we talked about accepting, now we're on to the third. When you find the root cause, you need to truly forgive the source, to fully release it out of your body, including the negative emotion or emotions tied to it. It's a process. It may not take a few weeks, it could take a few months, it could take a year. But the key is to get really laser focused on that meditation and journaling, being in the moment, practicing the art of mindfulness to find that clarity. When you resolve the root cause, what you're going to find is during your meditation and journaling, you're going to become more clear. You're going to have clarity. You're going to be able to see through the fog now really who you really are. Because once you resolve the root cause to those limited beliefs, you're going to be able to find who you really are, your true purpose, and why you're here. And it's in that purpose you find your solution. So you're not operating in the problem anymore. You're operating now in the solution. And once you find the solution, what you have to do next is, before you become a master influencer, is you have to develop a specific, detailed, and time-oriented life and business strategy. So what is that? Well, we all have life goals, we have business goals, right? But a lot of times people treat it separately. You need to look at your life and business as intertwined together, holistically working together. Whatever's happening in your life affects your business. Whatever happens in your business affects your life. They need to be harmonious, working together. So what I'm trying to say here is, when you outline your life and business goals, they have to be very specific. I will, I am, not I'll try or I want. You got to be specific in your language to what you want to manifest to become a master influencer, or whatever that is. And once you have that life and business strategy put together, we now need to break it down into smaller attainable goals daily. Now, you remember we talked a little bit about some of those daily habits, meditation and journaling, right? These are some of the things that are going to be part of your daily plan for the rest of your life to get you to where you want to be. You might want to incorporate some type of organizational tasks, like making your bed in the morning, working out, eating a healthy breakfast. These are things that are going to be recipes for success to whatever you're trying to accomplish, become a master influencer. Now, again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about that, because that's not really the focus of this talk today. But I wanted to point these things out because they're very, very important to understand, so that you know what you have to do in order to operate from a clear foundation to become a master influencer. Now, when you break down those smaller attainable goals, you need to be laser focused in the moment, using the art of mindfulness to complete those tasks so that they roll up one after another over time to get you to where you want to be. So, in summary, where we are right now: 1, be aware that you're not where you want to be. 2, accept where you are and make the commitment to move forward to resolve the root cause to those limited belief thinking. 3, you need to practice the art of forgiveness, to forgive the source, the root cause to your source, to fully release it with the emotions out of your body. Once now that you're now not managing the problem, you're now operating the solution, you find your purpose. You find your purpose, and you find within the solution to develop the life and business strategy that is going to serve you going forward to become a master influencer. So I think we summarized everything, but if you have any questions, feel free to list it down here at the bottom, and I'll be happy to address for you. Okay, so now you've laid the foundation, you're operating within the solution. Now it's time to learn, how do we become a master influencer? Well, it's not as hard as you think. Because again, when you're operating from your purpose and from the solution, you now are just going to take what you're doing every day that comes natural and begin to put that out there. Okay, so your brand, your message needs to be congruent to what really is who you are inside. Because if what you're saying is not in alignment with what you're putting out there, then the chances of becoming a master influencer are going to be short term. They're not going to be sustainable. You have to be transparent. You have to be truthful. But this is why everything we talked about earlier is so important, to set you up to be in this position to come from purpose. So you really have to become clear of what that is. What are you going to be? What value do you offer with who you are? And you got to be specific to putting that together. And when you do that, you want to be able to write that down and begin to use that within your life and business strategy. So these are some of the ways that I'd like to share with you before we talk about some of the ways that you can become that master influencer through social media, through speaking, through writing articles for publications and newspapers. Before we do that, we also want to do a couple other things here, okay? We want to get very clear on becoming a master influencer. You need to also understand the 5 I's. Now, I'm not talking these I's. I'm talking the letter I in the English language. Okay, that's like an I with a dot on top. Okay, there's 5 important I's that you need to understand to really become a master influencer, to start the process, other than what we talked about. And that is going to be 1, insight. You need to have insight as to who you really are. And if you really know who you really are and what your message is about, you're going to be able to apply wisdom, and that wisdom is going to be able to connect at a much higher level to what people can identify with. Again, that connection's got to be very, very important, that the wisdom has to align with the insight. Very critical in order to become a master influencer. 2, you have to take initiative. You need to be proactive. Again, if you're a financial broker or you're an insurance salesman, and there's a lot of other insurance salesmen out there, there's a lot of pastors out there, there's a lot of financial people out there, but what's going to set you apart to be considered the master influencer over the rest? You need to take initiative. You need to be more proactive. You need to be ahead of the curve and not reactive behind the curve. Very important. So we have insight, we have initiative. Number 3, we have to have impact. So what do we need by impact? So impact is that we have to be able to offer a tremendous amount of value with what we do. Tremendous amount of value. And that value has to align with not only who you are, but what your audience is as well, with their values. Very, very important. You need to also become innovative. You need to be able to adapt to different situations. Okay? So by doing that, by taking and be able to innovate, you become more creative. And as you become more creative, you're able to put together different types of solutions that are going to help people in what they do, whatever that is that you do best. That's going to separate you to become a master influencer over others that do what you do. And then finally, the other 5I, that is going to be, ready? Drum roll. Okay, I'm not really good with the drum beat here. Is integrity. Because with integrity, the other 4 I's are meaningless. You have to come from integrity as well. Again, coming from your authentic self, who you really are, coming from the solution. Now, I've emphasized that many times here during this discussion because I want to be able to drive this home so to let you know how important this is to really set yourself apart in becoming a master influencer. So again, it's insight, it's initiative, it's impact, it's being innovative, and having integrity. The 5 I's. Now think about some other people that you may admire. You look at guys like Jeff Bezos from Amazon, okay? And you look at Jeff, and if you were to ask Jeff Bezos back in 1997, he had this concept that he was going to sell books online. And people thought he was crazy. Like, you had Walden Books, and you had Borders, and Barnes & Noble. You had these brick and mortar bookstores, including college campuses had their own, independent bookstores. And that's where people bought books. That's where people went to read and buy books. And people thought he was crazy. But he also had the vision of knowing that beyond selling books, one day he'd be selling other things online. But see, here's the thing that separated Jeff Bezos as a master influencer over the others, is because he had not only the insight we talked about, but he had the wisdom. And he had this wisdom to be able to see beyond where he was currently at that time in 1997. It was like it was 1997, but he was already looking 10 years ahead. And he could see what was going to happen. It was like he had a crystal ball. Because here's why he was able to do that. It wasn't that he was psychic or had some inside information. It was because he had a clear mindset. He practiced mindfulness. He had a clear mindset that he had the ability to be decisive, to follow through with action that we talked about. He had the ability to have insight and combine that with wisdom to align something that could offer tremendous amount of value to people. And how evident is that what Amazon has done over the last 20 years now? It's phenomenal. They're taking over the world. Same thing with Howard Schultz of Starbucks. No different. These are men that have vision. They're master influencers because they come from their authentic selves. They're true to who they are. And I want to emphasize how important everything that we've talked about, how this is going to play an important role with what you do. So again, let's just, think about what was just said. I want you to kind of just think about it. Hopefully you wrote some of this stuff down, or maybe you could go back and listen to this again and you could write it down. But it's very important what we've talked about, that we follow these steps in sequence, because too many of us manage the problem instead of coming from the solution. And it all comes from within. This is the key to becoming a master influencer. Okay? So here we are. You're ready now to build your brand. You're really to build it. You want to become the authority in what you do. We talked about that you have to come from your purpose. We talked about you have to have a clear message of the value that you bring to others. Now you got to articulate that in a way that's going to connect with your audience. Is that going to be writing blogs that are consistent every week? Is that going to be doing YouTube videos and Facebook Lives? Is that going to be speaking in front of audiences that where you serve to? Or maybe you're on a panel or in a mastermind or in a seminar or doing workshops. Are you going to write a book? Are you going to co-author a book? An ebook? There are a wide variety of different things that you can do to start to create that credibility and trust factor to become the go-to person with what you do. Now, a book in itself is not going to make you successful. But what it's going to do is it's going to establish trust and credibility as a go-to person or an expert in your area of expertise to become a master influencer. And if you're not good at writing a book, I highly suggest that you find somebody that can help you. So if you could articulate what you want to convey to your audience, let a ghostwriter take care of that for you. Is it going to cost you money? Absolutely. But it's the best money you'll ever spend, because it's going to save you time to be focusing on the things that you're really good at. And that's what you should be looking at. All great influencers focus on the things that they're really good at and leave the rest to others that's what they're good at, that they can make things happen. That's what you got to do too. Don't take shortcuts. Invest in yourself and capitalize on the things that you're really good at to become that influencer that you are. So here's some of the ways that you become an influencer. Again, write a book. Create a YouTube channel. You want to be consistent with this content. Your brand on social media has to be in alignment with what you do. So if your Facebook page says one thing and your LinkedIn page says another and your Instagram says a completely other different thing, they're not congruent. That's not what master influencers do. Master influencers are very clear on who they are and what they do and how they serve others. This is what you have to do on your social media. That the verbiage that tells people what you offer and who you are has to be consistent across those channels. You need to provide content that's going to create awareness, that's going to allow them to draw their own conclusions. You don't want to be putting content out there that's going to tell them how, when, or why to do it. You want to influence them. Influencing means you're empowering them. You're providing factual information. You're providing insight with wisdom that will allow them to make their own decisions or draw their conclusions to the content that they've just read or watched or heard. And when I talked about YouTube videos and books and blogs, I forgot to mention podcasts or radio shows. Those are other angles as well. You want to be able to find one or more that are going to establish you as that thought leader. So that's very important. So if you're not a good speaker, you don't have a great voice, then, well, obviously radio and podcasts are out. So maybe now you're doing blogs and you're writing books. But if you're a good speaker, then radio shows and podcasts, whether if it's your own or doing somebody else's, is very important. And it's very important that you start networking with the right people to get an opportunity to be on their shows to get your message out there. That's going to help position you to become a master influencer, because now you're connecting through their audience as well as yours to get that content out there. Very important. So I've given you some examples of some different things that you could exploit to establish yourself as a thought leader or go-to expert. Now we have the ability now, how are we going to create that take it to the next step to become that influencer? One, we're going to have to be very consistent at what we do after we write a book, or if we do a radio show, or if we do a weekly YouTube show. We got to be consistent with that. If you're out there speaking, you need to be consistent out there speaking with what you do to get that message out there. To go from, say, a small Rotary club that you're speaking to large stages around the world conveying your message, or to whatever that means to you. Very important. And social media is the best way to do it. You know, it's everybody has access to it. People can see information in seconds. It's transparent. And you need a combination of things that are going to define who you are and the value, what you do to connect with them. So it's going to be little things that are going to educate them, create awareness that we talked about. It could be light stuff that has nothing to do with what you represent, but something that still talks a little bit about who you are, because people got to trust you. They want to like you, to follow you, and to be influenced by what you provide. These are all very important things. So you got LinkedIn, you got Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I mean, the list goes on. YouTube. Plenty of different media channels that you could go out and position yourself as a thought leader. And again, that message that you put out there has to be consistent. Not only persistent, but consistent. It's not once in a while. It's on a regular basis. Because if you don't, somebody else is going to do it. That might be in the field that you serve. Now, you got to define what a master influencer means to you. Are you doing this on a worldwide basis? Perhaps maybe in your local area, maybe just in your state where you live or country you live. You got to be clear on that. Because your life and business strategy that we talked about earlier, that needs to be in alignment with everything we're talking about here. It's got to be done. It's got to be written down every day what you're doing, and that you execute on everything that you do. And as I mentioned, your messaging has to be consistent. It can't be all over the place. There can't be a disconnect. Master influencers, their content is always spot on to what they do. And when you become a master influencer, it's going to make a huge difference in your life. It's going to elevate you to tremendous opportunities to be on bigger shows, TV shows, radio shows. Maybe you're contributing an editor with articles to Forbes magazine, Fast Company. The list goes on. There are all these opportunities that can lead to one or to another by being focused and consistent with what you're doing. Use the power of social media to do that. You may not need Facebook ads all the time, but using that in a combination with organic posts will help you to position yourself. Me personally, I've done this over a 2 or 3 year period and become a master influencer on Facebook and LinkedIn, and soon to be here, Instagram. And as a result of that, I'm also an influencer on a radio show called Voice America Influencer Channel, my show called Sustainable Success, which has been a huge hit. And all of this has been in a short period of time. And while I've practiced the art of influence and the practice of art of mindfulness for many years, I incorporated this into other areas of my career that I had tremendous success. So all I've done here is apply it in a different area, and I've seen the success I'm having here. I'm an award-winning author. I'm a radio show host. I'm a world-class speaker, and I'm a mindset strategist. But again, all of these are a result of becoming a master influencer. So what I like to end here is to know that I am no different from you, and you are no different from other people. The only walls that are going to block you from becoming a master influencer are your own walls, those limited beliefs. And that's why it's so important what I talked about earlier, that you need to start this process eliminating and releasing the limited mindset barriers that hold you back. Very important. So if you have any questions to what we discussed today, feel free to ask here. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Until next time, have a prosperous day. And in due time, if you incorporate everything we talked about, you too will become a master influencer in the area that you will best serve. Have a great day.